Keep an eye on the chat if y'all have questions.
Okay, good morning, everyone. My name is Lamont Henson. I am one of the community relations specialists at PWC. Thank y'all for making time to join us here in person as well as online. We're here to provide nuts and bolts, so to speak, a basic where to find information about PWC. I'm sure most are familiar with PWC. We are the local utility for electric, water, and wastewater here in Fayetteville, Cumberland County. We operate and maintain a large majority of the service territory. Starting things off, we have a link as well as a QR code to a web page that we created with information that we felt would be relevant to realtors. Anyone here, if you have time to scan the QR code, and it will take you to the page. For those who are online, you can go to the web address. So a lot of the things that we'll be discussing and talking about will also link back to this page, so it's a good reference source.
That's the same as it's on here as well. Yeah. Oh, okay.
But a lot of that one
Okay.
sheeter page is kind of similar information. So as discussed, some of the PWC 101s will be starting things off with the realtor page. I'm not here by myself. As mentioned, I'm one of the community relations specialists. I will allow my colleagues to also introduce themselves at this time. I'll start with Lexi.
Hey, I'm Lexi Desopis. You can just call me Lexi, so you don't have to worry about my last name. I work with Lamont in community relations. We do fun stuff like this and government affairs. So we talk to a lot of realtors. We also go to city council meetings. We also handle sponsorship requests and things of that nature. So if there's ever a question you don't know who to talk to, you can always start with us and we will point you in the right direction.
I'm Liz Testa. I am in the water and sewer engineering department. I'm the admin too for them. And in addition to chasing engineers and project coordinators and things like that, I also talk to a lot of realtors, let them know what services are available and try to locate their services for them, different things like that. I also work with the annexation team, and so that's what I'll be mostly talking about today.
Hi, I'm Tiffany Brisson. I'm with the Customer Programs Call Center. You probably work with our team regarding brand new connections. In the past, we work with builders and developers a lot, but any new connections, that's usually the point of contact also for solar programs. That's me in a nutshell.
So with utilities and us operating 3 services, we could be here for hours giving information and talking about things that we do, but we've tried to have a concise presentation where we're going to talk about us being the hometown utility, some key FYIs. Hopefully we can address some specific realtor questions. And then after we get done with our presentation, we'll have a Q&A session for those who may have questions. So I'll turn it over to Lexi at this time.
Thanks, Lamont. Well, I'm lucky enough to talk about my favorite subject, which is being your hometown utility. And we get to go on the road and talk about this all the time. So you may not know that we are maybe one of the largest utilities in town. We are not the only utility in town. So there are co-op utilities that are owned by customers. There are stockholder utilities that are owned by stockholders. And then there's municipals like us. We were created by the city. We are a separate entity, but we really function not for stockholders, but for stakeholders, which are our customers. And sometimes we have to kind of make that distinction because it is a lot different. Every day we wake up, we don't talk about how do we make money for our stockholders, right? We talk about how do we continue to provide reliable services at the lowest price possible to our customers. We were created in 1905, so we're celebrating a birthday. In 2016, we were made a separate entity. We're called a public authority, which is separate than the city of Fayetteville. We are still tied to the city because our assets are in their name. So you might see us at city council asking for different approvals and things of that nature. And city council approves our board of commissioners. So that's how we are tied together. Like we were saying, because we're municipal owned, sometimes people don't really, I can't, because I'm very passionate about it, always convey what it means to be customer focused. But what I mean by that is everyone who works there is a customer. Everyone who's there is local. And so every decision we make, everything we do is for our community. So we are very customer focused. And what that does is make us one of the most reliable utilities in North Carolina. And because we have local control, we know that any decision we make or any action that we take impacts our local community and ourselves. A misconception sometimes we have is that we function off taxes. We do not. We're only, our only revenue is customer ratepayer dollars. The exception to that is if we were to ask for a grant or apply for funds from somewhere else. So anytime we have to pay for something, it's all of us that are paying for it. So if there's unfunded mandates from the government, we all have to pay for it. And when I talk about good neighbors, it's because Liz is a neighbor. Our linemen are your neighbors. Our water crews are your neighbors. And so when they're coming to fix something or maintain something, they're literally doing it for their family and for their neighbors. And so that makes what we do every day very different than other utilities. And it also allows us to have some of the fastest response times out there. And so we really pride ourselves on all of those things. You may know some of our commissioners. Right now, Chris Davis is our chair. We also have Richard King, Donald Porter, and Ronna Garrett. What I think has always been interesting about PWC is that we have a diverse group of different backgrounds on our board that represent different parts and segments of our customers. So from engineers to businesses to real estate to economic development, when they make decisions, it's from different point of views. And because they're local, any decision that they make also impacts them and impacts their families. So if we have to raise rates or fees or what have you, it also impacts them. And so believe me, they get the phone calls too. And so that's why we want to take opportunities like this whenever we can. So if you have other things you want us to talk about, like Lamont said, we could be here for 10 days. We will come back and talk in more detail. But we really like to emphasize the fact that you could call our commissioners up. You can tell them, you know, how you're feeling. You could come to our meetings. They're public. We would love for you to come. And we really talk to our customers because we want to be able to meet your needs. And the only way we can meet your needs is if we know what they are. And so that's why we have that realtors page. So at the end, anything or any questions that we have, we will make sure to put that on that page after today. So one of the, or two of the questions we got specifically today was about water quality and Rayford water. So I talk about water quality all the time because it seems to be not just a hot topic, but there seems to be some confusion because there's a lot of different things happening with water quality right now. So I'm going to start with our situation. So you might have seen that the EPA came down to Fayetteville and they made a huge announcement that they finally put some regulations on 5 of the forever chemicals. Those regulations take effect in 2029. We were amazed that they came to Fayetteville, but the reason they came to Fayetteville was to make us an example because PWC has always met or exceeded all regulations. We are on the forefront of all filtration, of all the work. I could list all our awards if you want to, but we don't have to. They came here to make that announcement because they know we've been passionate about this for years and we want to continue to provide that high quality water that meets or exceeds standards to our entire community. So those standards in 2029 are about the water that we distribute, okay? And so that distribution begins basically on Ramsey Street, okay? So think about where Ramsey Street is and then think about Comores. Anybody who's driven to the beach has seen Comores. Well, Comores is almost in a whole different county south of us. So Comores Gen X is not in PWC's intake. Does that make sense? So sometimes that gets a little confusing because we are somehow tied together because of what's going on in Grays Creek. So everything we're doing with our filtration is really to deal with the pollution that's coming upstream. We have Sanford, we have Greensboro, you might hear about all of that. That's what we're all dealing with here. And so when we talk about Grays Creek, which is a completely different issue, we're talking about a concentrated area that does not have PWC water. So we're working with the county on our first step with the county, not the county's first step, would be to run lines to the 2 schools out there and we will provide the water and the infrastructure to those two schools. The next step the county is planning to take, and are planning now about that, is to somehow get countywide water to the county. However, that would not be PWC's infrastructure. Right now, the plan is for the county to do that, and we would sell them bulk water, just like we do Fort Bragg, Polk County, that we'll talk about in a second. And so that's how we're kind of tied in to the Chemours situation. And because they're called Fayetteville Works, sometimes that gets really confusing. So we just want to make sure that y'all know those are two separate issues. And we're actually really excited to be able to help the county in that, because we know the more high quality water you have, the more development you have, the more people that can move here, better for everybody. If we have questions about that, please feel free to ask. We can also talk about Rayford Water. So they are a wholesale customer. All PWC does is provide wholesale water to them. PWC has no infrastructure there. Obviously, we are concentrated in Cumberland County. And so they, from what I understand, are planning for future growth out there and are looking to see what areas can be developed. And that's where they would probably focus where they're going to put their infrastructure. If they want to amend our agreement and get more water, they obviously can do that with us, and we're just the wholesale provider. So if you have questions about Rayford Water, I have heard that their utility director is very approachable and would love to hear from you. So if that can help at all, please let us know. Another thing about water quality Lamont is going to bring up that you might have heard, or some of your customers or you might gotten a letter about, is our lead program.
So in passing the baton, there were some standards from the EPA that were increased, causing us to have to take some more proactive measures to make sure that our customers weren't being exposed to lead pipes. In that, we created this campaign called Operation Clean and Clear, where we did an inventory of certain service areas for water service that we maintain, and making sure that there are no lead exposures. We did testing for, well, it's still ongoing. And if you go to our website, there is a community map available where areas have already been identified, letting you know that they've been tested. And from a realtor standpoint, if there is a property that you want to make sure it's been tested or see what is the results for that property, you can contact us at the 910-223-4730 to get more information, to make sure that you don't have a potential buyer having a lead exposure. Right of way and easement. This is something where there is a parcel or a piece of property that we need to install utility services, and we typically have to negotiate with the property owner to get that space. They can be a little complicated. We have a staff of professionals that can explain it to you a lot better than I can, but just wanted to let you know that we are aware of that, and that is something available through PWC, so you can contact us through our legal claims and real estate projects area. There's a number available, and we also have a web page dedicated to right-of-way and easement. The fun stuff. Annexation. So for those who may be unfamiliar with the annexation process, this is something that the city of Fayetteville employed, and we're the ones kind of carrying it out. So this project was negotiated and decided that they would go forth back in 2005. Construction began in 2007. In the 18 years, we have completed 25 projects, and almost 6,000 connections were made available. There's still ongoing projects. It's said that annexation will be ongoing until about 2030. So we got a few more years to go. The estimated cost is already at $500 million. So it's been a very expensive process, but you know, we're going to get it done. And annexation is the installation of water and wastewater services, typically in areas where it was county bound, and they're moving into the city. So we are the ones executing that project. 3 phases: construction, connection, and assessment. Lexi and I, and sometimes Tiffany and Liz as well, we go out and have community meetings where we explain what phase of the process we're on for that neighborhood and try to answer any questions for the residents. So it's an extensive process. We know it can be a pain point, so we try to make it as painless as possible. And now I will pass it over to Liz to talk a little bit more about annexation.
We brought the cheese to you.
So, again, as Lamont said, the actual annexation happened 3 mayors ago, it's 3. And people are like, oh, I don't wanna be annexed, well, it's too late, cause they are already annexed, and we're just getting around to them, because like Lamont said, we've already done. How many projects did you say, 25 projects already, and we've got at least 25 more to go. And so it says, oh, I got annexed and all I got is a green trash can and that's it. Well, we're getting to them as quick as we can. It's a lot of work. So a lot of the questions that I get are we in an annexed area? Do we have service? When are we having service? And what's it gonna take to get the service? So if you want to find out if you are in an annexed area, if one of your properties is in an annexed area, I highly recommend going to the search by street on our website. Because you can do that at 3 in the morning. You can't call me at 3 in the morning, but you can do that. And the dates are always subject to change, so that's just something to know. But if you go to that, that is a great place to start, and you can find out if your project is upcoming, if your project is in process, or if it's already happened. And if you can't find the property, odds are it's not in the annexed area, sorry. But the people at the customer service can help you out with that, and that is the number right there. And as Lamont said, also, we do meetings in each phase. So the owners on record will receive a letter saying, hey, we're coming to your area, we'd like to have a construction meeting. Meet us at XYZ church on this day, and everybody comes. And we give them all the information that they need to know what we're gonna be doing in their neighborhood. And we bring the maps, and they can look, and they can see where we've decided that their connections should be and things, and they can let us know if that's good or bad. And we're very open to all the information that the homeowner wants to give us. And but it is for the owner on record. So if it changes, if you sell a house and between the construction phase and the connection phase, then you want to let us know, because the county doesn't always catch up fast enough for our mailing list. So if you know that it's in an annex area, it's always a good idea just to let us know, and Tiffany can kind of talk to that more, but it's always a good idea to let us know that, you know, the owner on record has changed, especially if it's getting close to the beginning or the end of the project. And so let's see, so how do I find out if the assessment has been made? There's also a part on our website that has you put in the PIN number without the dashes, and it will bring up if it's if there's an assessment, and okay, if there is an assessment, it'll tell you how much is due or how much has been paid, things like that. But again, if you can't find it, if you can't figure it out, call us, we will help you out. And there's the next, okay, good. So again, as Lamont said, the annexation, or sorry, the assessment is for water or sanitary sewer improvements. Mostly the annexation is sewer. There's water in certain specific spots, but if they're already on Aqua, we're not taking their Aqua. Because that's, you know, the other water company. So mostly it is sanitary sewer and just little pockets of water here and there. Occasionally, if the lines are too close to their well, we might have to take their well and connect them to our water if it's available. But that's, again, a very rare circumstance, and we talk to the owners and, you know, let them know all these things are gonna be happening. We're very good at communicating with the folks. And the assessments are liens on the property, so again, you wanna find out if there's an assessment due or an assessment paid. A lot of times people will put the assessment amount into escrow, so that when it does sell, the owner's paying it, the first owner's paying it, not the buyer. You know, that's all you guys, y'all do that. And they have 10 years to pay. And, even though we're collecting it, we are the vehicle for the city. So, and let's see what else. So yeah, once the construction is finished, then that's when the assessment comes due. And construction phases usually last about a year and a half to 2 years. From beginning to end. So if you're selling a house that's in the assessment area, the project area, they've got like 2 years to work up the money, you know, if they don't already have it or whatever. People tend to react at the end when it's due and they don't, but they've known it's coming, you know, so, I don't know, you look like you have a question.
So what happens in the 10 years? Cause I know my mom was one of the first houses in LaGrange years ago.
Right,
And then like Mona, she's on the back and she's there now. So there are homes in LaGrange that don't have, they're not on city sewer.
right.
So it's been over 10 years for LaGrange. So what happens at the end of 10 years?
The 10 years is from the assessment, you know, from the completion, that's for them to be able to pay their assessment. The
And if they
assessment has nothing to do with whether you're connecting or not.
don't- Exactly, but if they don't pay within 10 years, what happens then?
If you don't connect within the 10 years, I mean, if you don't pay your assessment within 10 years, it's a lien against your property.
They do put a formal lien on the property.
I believe so. But if you don't connect, we never compel you to
Yeah,
connect.
Right, exactly.
The only people who can compel you to connect is the health department. Because, you know, if your repair field isn't any good, or you wanna put a pool in, or whatever. So we will never tell you, you have to connect. But if you don't connect within, there's generally an incentive period.
Mhm.
After the project is complete, and if you don't connect within that incentive period, it will be the fee of the time. So right now it's $25.85, I think.
So you
It
still-
varies, it depends on the.
Yeah, it depends on the site, you know, the different annexation, but the phase 5, I think it's $25.85. And that's in
on top of-
addition,
On top of.
yes, that's in addition to your $5,000 assessment and in addition to the plumber who will be connecting the house. Okay, sorry, I'm getting ahead.
If they don't connect in that 2 year window, and there's 285 turns into how much?
We don't know yet. It depends on the commission. So the fee could go up, it could go down, oh, it's going up. But the commission usually makes a determination once a year. And some fees are going up in May, that is not one of them. So it's always check, because you don't wanna give them the wrong amount.
But that fee is way within us.
Typically it's been waived,
Like 6 months or so, isn't it?
it's that's the incentive. So to get people to hook up sooner than later.
Typically, I'll get into the.
Yeah, so you'll get into to those nuts and bolts. But, so, yeah, so however many mayors ago, they capped the assessment at 5,000. So that will not increase.
For single family, usually.
Yes, single family.
Just one question, you had said for property transfers during the period to let you know, well, wouldn't you know when the new client set up their service? Would that information get to you?
Hopefully, yes. It depends on the where we get our mailing list from.
They may not have an active account with us yet, if
Yeah.
it's new location,
Okay.
they're brand new, their services with us. So we want to do our calls.
Awesome. Yeah, that's it for me.
Now is next slide. Okay, so, we talked a little bit about annexation. And so, as Liz said, properties with septic tanks are not required to connect. The only person that can compel you to do so is the health department. However, we do think, PWC sewer is the bee's knees, you know, so if you're interested in connecting, you will call my team. And so what we're going to do is, a little bit of research for you. We're going to try to find out if it's already, connection is already available, or if it's not. If it's available, it can fall into a few different categories. You guys have heard about annexation, there's other phases out there. And there could be other lots outside of annexed areas that are on septic tanks as well. So we're going to confirm it's available, and we will work with Liz's area to provide you a quote for the fees. So there could be various fees depending on the specifics of the project and the lot. One of the common fees is system development fee. And so with the annexation, there are incentives, as we talked about. That information on that will be included in the connection letter. But typically it's within 6 months of connection. But it's very important to read the specifics, you know, with the letter, because that date in the letter is the driver for any incentive programs if it's time-based. So we'll give you the quote, and you would hire a plumber to complete the work, and an account will be created for the new customer once that connection is made. I do want to mention, if this is a service area that has only sewer, the bill will be placed in the property owner's name. We provide electric, water, sewer, all throughout Fayetteville, Cumberland County, Hope Mills, but we have different combinations of services because, as Lexi mentioned, we're not the only utility in the area. So we share utilities with some of the services. Probably didn't say that quite accurately. We're not necessarily sharing, but you may have 3 bills, you may have 1 for your different utilities. So if it is that particular scenario where you're getting your electricity and your water through other services other than PWC, then that sewer will follow the property owner. So you might be asking, you know, what happens if it's not available for connection? You still have some options. One, it could be phase 5 annexation, which means it's coming soon. And so all those wonderful resources that Liz shared with you, you can look at those. Our team can provide information on that as well. You can also talk to the Cumberland County Environmental Health Department. They would guide you on permitting and things like that, on repairs or installing a new septic system if you would like to do so. I do also want to mention there's a little link here in the corner. You can also navigate to it through our other links as well. It's just, we're very open and transparent about the different charges that we will charge us in our service regulations. The system development fee that I mentioned before is typically based on the domestic water meter size, even if it's water or sewer. So any questions on that?
Such fun topic.
Wonderful, yes.
Actually, I do have a question.
Yes.
There are pockets in old neighborhoods that for some reason or other, a house didn't connect to sewer when they could. I've stumbled across them by accident. So is there an extra fee, or do they just call and pay?
So that they'll call us and we'll have a quote done up, you know, with it being very old, you know, if it's something recent, we might have more information handy, but so we'll do a quote, and it's typically, it could be like main, lateral, and system development fees is the 3 we see most often. It really depends on the specifics around the project and what may have already been satisfied before. So, you know, we do have to look into that a little deeper, but we'll provide all the information right there for you so that you don't have to like guess, you know, and do the fees. We'll let you know what's due for the property. And the quotes are good for 60 days. So whenever you, you know, get one, you know, you don't have to make a decision right then. You have a little bit of time. And, you know, of course, if 60 days passes, you can always revisit again another time. We'll get it requoted at whatever the current fees are at the time.
And to that point, if you are getting a quote like today and the fees are going up May 1st, your first quote will be good for 60 days, but subsequent quotes will be the new fees. So that's why we only do it for a limited amount of time. We've had people who have quoted things 6 times and it is 5 different fees. So, you know, but,
So how long does it take to get a quote? Because a lot of times we're timelines are sensitive, you know, someone wants to put an offering, like we need to find out, you know, what it's gonna cost.
we have 7 to 10 days to complete the quote
Business
and
gains,
get it to you.
business,
So we have a 7 to 10 day turnaround.
And just for curiosity, with the septic part, do you do all the work or do you still have to have a private plumber come in and
We
do
don't do
something?
any of it.
Right,
So we just, the homeowner or seller buyer, whomever, would just pay the fee to be allowed to connect.
Correct.
And then that homeowner or buyer, whatever, would call a plumber to.
Yeah.
So that they would pay the plumber's fees too, you know, of course, but typically it's paying the fees owed to PWC. And getting your plumber, the plumber will then pull like permits and then do the work, and then when you're connected, you get into billing.
so the plumber has to pull up permit, correct?
Yes,
Okay, it's required.
Very much. And it has to be inspected.
yes,
Okay,
Afterwards.
okay.
yes, absolutely.
And we might wanna say that in annexed areas, only 50 phase 5 annexation areas, only 50% of the customers are connected. So that will probably become more and more.
Yeah, the ones that I've stumbled across have been in neighborhoods like Hillendale, the Lakes,
Yeah.
Murrayville,
Lakes is,
Older,
Yeah.
just, they. How many owners ago they just did it, and all of a sudden, here it pops up.
So I've come across one last year, my sister, it was in, Erin Lakes West. And checked the website and it said there was an assessment due, but then they said they paid the assessment, but there was no record, so they paid again. So,
oh,
because they said they want city sewer.
yeah, well,
And,
paying the assessment has nothing to do with your connection.
So how did they get on city sewer and they never paid the connection?
so with the assessment is more for like the work to, the way I was understood is the way like to deliver the service to the property,
No, I
right?
understand that,
But-
but I mean, but if you're doing like, say, phase 5, this I'm just as an example, say
Yeah.
phase 4. Okay, and they're on city sewer, but they never paid the assessment, how do they get on city sewer if they never paid the assessment?
The assessment is a separate fee,
Mhm.
so they would pay the connection fee at the time.
But I mean, you see what I'm saying? How
You're
do
saying they paid an assessment,
they didn't
they
pay this,
didn't pay an
but they said,
assessment,
but they're on city sewer. How
but
they
they're
get
on
there?
city sewer, but was that in phase 5 annexation area?
No, I just use a phase as an example. This was, it's a real one in Erin Lakes West.
Oh, because not all,
And they said they were on city sewer and I confirmed with PWC, like, yeah, we're fine, but the website said they owed money and the attorney, you know, going close and said, we gotta take the money out, you know? So how'd they get on city sewer? If they never paid their.
The assessment's not, that's handled completely separately from connection.
Mhm.
So connection will be available and then the assessment is usually billed shortly after that.
Okay.
so they could have connected
Oh,
and never
okay.
paid
It's
the
paid
assessment.
amount.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
It's
one
entirely
does not
possible.
depend on the other.
Right.
and that's only in phase 5, other people don't have assessments, that's a
Well-
specific phase 5, well, phase 5. Assessment for construction for phase 5 is specific to those projects,
Yeah.
does that make sense?
So the earlier people,
No, it's all the same project, but there are areas that are connecting to sewer that are not part of phase 5 annexation. Phase 5 is specific to, the city calls this Big Bang, that's just that area.
And that's mostly West Fayetteville, we're
Right.
in Lakes West.
Yeah, and if you have a specific question, you can call Tiffany's team.
223-4600.
Check it out.
Yes, we would be happy to look up and we can guide you on a lot of those things when you call
Oh, I was
us.
assuming you had to pay the assessment first, go through the process before you get, so you need to hook up with your
No,
plumber
so
and everything.
where we have that little chart,
Mhm.
we construct,
Mhm.
then you connect, then we assess.
Okay.
So assess is after connection,
Oh, okay.
if you follow those steps.
Yes. Alrighty, so we can now talk about the fun one, which is solar. I went
Other direction.
Yeah.
Yeah, solar. So we offer 2 solar rates for rooftop solar. And we typically will work with how this works is the property owner hires like a solar company, and we work directly with the solar company to help to set the service up for the customer. They'll have to fill out an application process, like an application and pay a fee. The property owner will sign an agreement. The contractor will then install the panels once their design and application, everything are approved. And they do have to meet PWC and City of Fayetteville guidelines. It's very important, we encourage anyone who's thinking about installing them to call our team first so that we can kind of talk you through the process and let you know which rate option would be right for you. We also have a wonderful website with a lot of information on things like, is your yard right for solar? Is there a company that would work best with me? We have some knowledgeable vendors on the website as well, vendors we worked with before. PWC doesn't recommend any one over the others, but we can let you know they have gone through the process with us before. One of the very important things is, when buying, selling homes, you may have one that already has had panels installed. It is very important that we connect with that property owner when that happens. They just have some key paperwork that they'll have to provide to us, and then they too can receive benefit of the service. But until we have those things, unfortunately, they would not get benefit from their panels. So this is like just like proof of insurance and design an interconnection agreement with us as well.
Can you back up, what did you
Yes.
say, what do you mean to, they won't get?
They won't get the benefit for it. We, yes, they have to sign up for the program. And so, like new customers, it's $200. If it's a new owner taking over for existing solar panels, it's like a $50, administrative fee, for us to do the switch. So, any questions on solar?
So I have mixed bag about solar panels, that's so expensive.
You wanna hear that, because you wanna.
Yes,
We
we
do.
do, but are people saving money, I mean, are you buying electricity from these people?
Well, one of our rates we do, so our interactions with the property owner. So one rate is called renewable energy buyback, and that one is probably our most popular program. With this one, the customer has a bi-directional meter and they are producing, like they can consume what they produce from the panels. And any excess they will get a credit for. It's not a one-to-one like a lot of companies do out west. But it is still, a credit. And then we also have buy-all, sell-all, and we have this program for many years, but this is now more for like larger systems. So with this one, the customer will buy all their power from PWC, and then they also sell what they generate back to us. So they have 2 meters. And we have a very small group of customers on this. As far as credits, that can vary depending on the things like the size of your system, the position of the panels. There's not like a set, like amount that the customers get, but you can find the rate information on our website, and it will kind of break it down for you as far as like what you would get, for what you generate. It is a very big upfront expense, and that's something we do want to make sure customers are aware of. It's not something that you will be able to offset your bill with either. So you will still definitely have a PWC bill with solar panels. And
Solar doesn't produce every day, all day, right?
yes, you have nighttime, you have cloudy weather. You know, you might have a bigger demand than what the panels are producing. So, you know, so it will never be like something that would completely offset your bill.
So do you have stats out there somewhere, so customers can just.
We don't, but that's a wonderful idea.
Stats out there.
Are y'all seeing a lot of solar panels installing, selling,
It's
houses?
causing problems.
Okay, tell us about that.
So if somebody gets a great salesperson that comes up and says, if you put this $60,000 in the solar stuff on your roof, you'll save forever, and that person sells their house 2 years later, they have an unpaid assessment. Sometimes the solar company, hearsay, has not allowed it to be transferred to the owner, or it has to all be paid at closing. Maybe that seller doesn't have the money equity in the home to pay for it. It's causing problems with appraisals because we don't have them around here. They're not getting value for it. I mean, it's a pretty much a pure negative and a very expensive one.
Well, in the beginning, we definitely saw some customers being taken advantage of, and that's why Tiffany's team really got involved in the process. Because it's not only we care that our customers don't get into that predicament, but also for safety. We're talking about electricity still, so, you know, we have to make sure that if your power is out, linemen know that you have this. Because they could get hurt, your house could get hurt. We don't want to have any property damage or hurt any of our employees, obviously. And so we have seen that. We go to a lot of community meetings and hear a lot of older residents kind of signing on the line before calling Tiffany's team. And that's why we really want to tell people, if you want solar, that's on you and that's great, but please call us first because we're not selling anything. We're gonna tell you the real deal about it so that you can become more educated and not be hopefully taken advantage of.
So there's a bunch of people that have, some elderly, others half my age, just didn't do the research, but beyond that, a lot of these homes are in neighborhoods that have restricted covenants, and they say you can't have anything solar panel or whatever facing the street. There's a roof full of solar panels. And that's not, somewhere they need to, you know, somewhere check restricted covenants need to be.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that should probably be in the permitting process, but that's not to us. We're just doing it again.
Yes, we do educate vendors on what PWC can offer. Unfortunately, you know, we've heard, of course, similar stories out in the community, and that's why anything solar related, you'll probably see, please call us first. Because this is a huge decision that, you know, a very big expense and can take decades to pay off. So, you know, we really want to make sure that customers are entering, we arm them with the information that they need to make this decision. We're not pro or against, you know, we just want to make sure they have the facts.
And again, nothing to do with, you know, see, but a lot of those companies were selling the benefits to the buyer that it would pay for themselves, that it was made adding value to their house, almost. And there's people like that right now that just couldn't sell their homes.
Right. Wow. Yeah. So in other communities, is it increasing value? Maybe communities that are more benefits.
Not our market, perhaps, maybe, I don't know, in the Midwest where they've been doing solar for a lot longer.
Okay.
But not, we don't have any history for it, so for us, it's a pure negative.
Yeah, okay. That's good to know.
That's good feedback. Yes, thank you for sharing.
Cause I know you guys get when the bill comes out, you guys have a nice little one pager. You have stuff in there about solar panels, girl, I know people sometimes I read it.
There have been,
Okay.
our website has great information as well. You know, a lot of resources, things like financing, vendors. We have the actual application documents and design documents and things up there as well. The average homeowner, you know, may not be able to interpret a lot of that, but their solar vendor will be able to guide them through it.
I thought somebody had their hand up, but I can't seem to see it now.
Okay.
If you had your hand up, put it in the chat. We'll- Hello? That would be smart.
Share that.
Okay, so If there's no further questions about solar, I can turn this back to CCR. Thank you.
Thank you, Tiffany. Mind sync? Yeah, yeah.
I'll just, how about I do it? Oh, there we go.
Fortunately, that is the conclusion of the presentation. Seriously, thank y'all for listening. We've allowed this presentation to be more interactive. So you could ask questions as we went along, but if you still have questions, we have some time. So of course, if you have a question or any doubt, do not hesitate to contact our customer service number, the 910-483-1382. And we're really kind of finishing off where we started, referencing you back to that realtor page. So this was kind of like a sandwich. A lot of the stuff that we presented was the meat in the middle, and the reference or resource to that realtor's page is kind of the culmination of everything we talked about. It should answer a lot of questions that may pertain to real estate, but if not, do not hesitate to reach out to us. If there are any questions in the chat, feel free to ask them now, as well as any questions in the room. We have left some information here for you guys. If you want us to retrieve it so it's not left, we can get it as well.
And give us feedback on that page,
Yes.
because we really want that page to be what you need.
So I screenshot and I emailed myself the link. Does it have like realtor information, like direct links to having a client hook up to water, sewer? Does it have, so that we don't have to go hunt that annexation and put in the PIN number? Is it all that navigable from that?
I don't know, but when you look at it, and if it's not, we can definitely.
That would be helpful.
And that's the kind of feedback, we actually created this because of the realtor rally. We loved the realtor rally, so much. We cannot wait to go back to it. Do it 10 times a year, it was great, right? Tiffany crew, everybody had a great time. And that's where we started getting those questions, and we were like, why not make a page so you could one-stop shop? So if that's what needs to be done.
It does.
It does.
So it's there's a request link if you ever need us to come to an event. There's the customer service for connection of services. It talks about our rates, annexation, our services for electric, water, wastewater, time of use. That's something.
Is there a link directly in there so you can enter the property address or the PIN number to see if it's in that annexation area or has an assessment that's in already?
Yes.
It's on it.
Yes.
What I like to see is, cause I'm always calling to verify utilities. If you guys had a self-service page, it's for anyone, self-service page, where I can type in the address and you tell me what services you provide. I can tell you 123 Main Street, you can tell me you provide wastewater, septic, whatever. That'd be helpful, cause I'm always calling and, and they pick up kind of quick, but sometimes it's easier. Just to
Just
type
do it
the address in and say, okay. So, yeah, exactly. Cause a lot of times I'm sending my request late at night for the PWC stuff, it's like, it'd be nice to know what services, because you're right, and you can have 4 different services in this area depending on where you live at, I know the other ones don't have that as well,
It's a great idea.
Can everyone go up to?
That's less call to you guys.
Yeah. Lower down?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, and
Go down to, or well,
this too.
yeah.
Let's see if that works. We did get a question about, when someone sells their home with solar panels, do they need to pay them off? I would assume that has to do with the contract.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
every single one is probably.
Correct.
Right? Okay.
Yeah.
So we wouldn't get into those details, we would refer you back to the contract.
Yeah.
But that's why we would want you to call us first.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Because that could be kind of an FAQ, we'll have you ask, blah, blah, blah.
Any other
We have
questions?
a lot of solar customers though, like,
There's quite a few towns around here,
it
you
is
see them,
way more popular than I expected.
I had a client last year.
430.
Last count?
Booming.
Well, still, they're really,
Yeah. I will also make a note that, there are times where we put out scanned information. And that scam information is because people are either saying they're working with PWC or they're partnering with PWC and PWC said to put panels on it. We do not, like Tiffany said, endorse anyone, and we would never go out there to say, please produce us some electricity. So if that ever happens and you have a customer or client saying that, let us know, because then we put on social media for people to look out for that, and, you know, we put out that same information again, and Tiffany's group works with a select few that follow the steps, and that's what we really want people to think about. Chat, should we, okay, any more questions?
What's that from the chat?
Hey, do y'all know about our incentive programs?
You mean like rebates you're talking about?
Uh-huh.
Yes, I do.
Okay, we have a little thing here we'll leave with y'all. But if you're selling a home that maybe is older and they need to buy their own appliances, or maybe the new people or the sellers or whatever, there's a lot of different bill credits they can receive by doing Energy Star things, insulation, all kinds of things. If you're dealing with a renter situation, there are also a couple programs for renters as well. But we really want to incentivize anyone to conserve. Sometimes that doesn't make sense because we're selling electricity, but we really do. We're all in this together. The less we use, the less our bills will be, even PWCs. So we have a lot of great programs on that. So if you want us to come talk about that, we can bring you experts on conservation and incentives. If you think there's a program we don't have that would be helpful to incentivize people, let us know. We really, when we say we want to hear from you, we really actually mean that. I promise.
Do you have one for installation?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Is it on there? Okay, I see it.
Yeah.
That's right.
I took advantage of that, changed my whole house.
Okay. Is there a timeline? You know, because people don't realize they replaced the HVAC, they didn't realize they could have got the incentive. Is there a timeline?
There is, yes, ma'am.
I missed a couple of them.
Yeah.
FAQs and terms and conditions on what.
Okay, so how long you have to get? Okay.
Because you have to keep your receipts, all of those things, make sure they meet the requirements and all.
And you have to turn it in within.
A certain time frame of purchase.
Yeah, it can't be like I redid my house 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Even though that's
my
my
sister like this year, LED.
See, that's good.
They got a question.
Angie asked, I have solar panels and they're paid off, so in this situation, would it be a plus? I don't know the answer to that, but ask your colleagues. It depends on who's buying it, I guess, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and do you, if the person has solar panels that are paid off, do you have to go like inspect them to make sure they're eligible to hook up?
And to what you mentioned earlier, with their appraisal, are they getting credit for those solar panels?
If it's, you know, honestly, in our market, you would have to, the agent may have to prove to the appraiser, as in provide similar sales that showed they sold for increased value with solar panels on them to see if they were worth any money in our local market.
So it could make it even harder. Wow.
But in Tiffany, in your case, you would need them to call you to transfer it, right?
We do, we would talk about those things there. In many cases, a digital inspection is not required. But, you know, if there's any concerns, we definitely want to hear about it. Mostly what we need is this paperwork, and we want to educate the customer on what they'll expect to see on their bill as well.
So do you provide, say that scenario, someone says they have solar panels and they pay them off, and I say I get a credit every month of $200. I mean, do you provide that information to the public, or if I want to call, if I'm buying a house and they say, well, can I call you and tell me what the credits are getting for solar panels or something?
You know, I think that we could share some information on that. Right now, you know, we can't of course predict, but similar to like how we create our deposits, you know, we're able to take some usage and say, you know, this is what we believe 1 or 2 months of usage would be, you know, so that information we could share.
Well, what about for that particular house?
Yes, but we
Okay.
could not guarantee it because of, you know, so many factors go into
Just
it.
the change,
Right.
yeah.
And it would definitely fluctuate throughout the year.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, here's some money. They're currently hooked up to Duke Energy and make a huge difference in our utility bill and have no other interaction with the company who installed it with that warranty. Well, that's good. That's good. I mean, I could see how that could be a benefit, but I think we're just new to the solar game, so it's gonna take, it was like baseball, it took us a
Yeah.
while.
And they're expensive, like, 'cause I had a
Yeah.
client, she nixed her husband, he got almost broke in, it was gonna be $50,000 for solar panels. I said, you're never gonna live long enough.
Right, right.
I
I
can
was
say
like,
there's
what?
definitely
You
customers.
never, damn long.
I've gotten many quotes and they're all about $30,000 for my little house, but I wanted batteries as a generator. And that added another 20,000, so I was like, no, thank you, but I wanted to look into it because, you know, that could be cool, instead of putting like a whole house generator would, you know, but a whole house generator would be much cheaper. For me. Yeah, so.
I mean, a $50,000 loan on so that's expensive. It's a whole lot of. You have to pay it off and then you have to start saving.
Yeah.
You can't, for sure, recoup that.
Well, if y'all don't have any questions, we will end the presentation, but continue to give us feedback, or if you have, you know, clients that are having issues or having a hard time finding the right point of contact or anything like that, you can give them our information, and again, that's how we get better, because we know what your clients and you need. So you let us know.
Okay, I do have one question, if I'm too late, Tammy. Going back to the PFAS, what's the stuff that we read in the news, and you know how good the news is, that there's higher levels of it in PWC water?
So I think the confusion there is those EPA regulations are for 2019 and I mean 2029. So sometimes what people are comparing is today's levels versus future levels. Right now, I think it's like 70 parts per trillion or something like that. And the new one is like 7 parts per trillion. It's very different, but I don't even know that there's technology to get it to that point. And that's what we're working on now towards that filtration system. So
Okay.
sometimes it confuses future regulation and current
There's
regulation.
stuff that goes out in social media or on the news that may not be all factual or the complete facts.
Right.
But people hear what they hear.
Yeah. And listen, I talk about this constantly, and I'm excited when people ask us these questions, and even when they're angry, because that means you can help us. That means you can fight the polluters upstream. We've been doing that for a decade, but it's not in the news, right? Now it's in the news, so we've got people's attention, and, you know, we do everything possible to continue that high level of water quality for our customers. But wouldn't it be so much easier if it wasn't in the water in the first place? And so we're fighting that too. We even had a rally at PWC recently. We wanted to join them because they're talking about the polluters, not PWC. So again, anything that happens, we are all gonna have to pay for it. So we all don't wanna pay for it, right? So we don't want the pollutants in the water.
Wasn't there something in the news about the current administration changing the rules or something about PFAS?
Yes.
Loosening them up or something?
So when the EPA came down, part of what they were doing was also setting limits on polluters. I believe the current administration has gotten rid of that. And hopefully,
Right.
whatever, and they have also frozen all of our grants for this. So that's what, we're still working towards it because we're going to continue to provide that high quality. Well, thank you all, we really appreciate it.
Thank you.
They have a whole house generator too, I'm jealous.
No.
I'm not like,
They're prepared, they're prepared.
just for my dogs, because we're at work during the hour after.
That's right there. All hands on deck.
Yeah. Thank you.